Okay, so today we're going to take a look at the Insta360 Link 2C Pro. There it is. It is the latest camera from Insta360 for webcam purposes. It has a USB-C connection on the back. It magnetically attaches to the base. You can see that it also has a privacy shutter on the camera just to see the hardware a little bit, and the stand is very nice in terms of its design and how beefy it is. There's a surprise I had with this camera in terms of webcams that I will reveal as part of the testing, but let's just start testing this out with all the default settings and see what it looks like and hear what it sounds like. Okay, this is the Insta360 Link 2C Pro, and I have all the default settings. I have HDR turned on. Everything is 50% out, default exposure, the whole thing, just so you can see what it looks like out of the box and hear what the audio sounds like from the Insta360 Link 2C Pro. Okay, so that was the Insta360 Link 2C Pro. I gotta say, I tried it out, and right when it arrived and right when it was released, I paid for it with my own money, by the way. This is not a sponsored video. The camera underwhelmed me initially. I got updates though to the firmware literally today, and today's the 19th of April, so it's probably been out for a month or two. The camera is night and day better. Like, everything about it is better. The image is better. It was underwhelming at first, if I'm honest, when I first tested it out. The audio was kind of like most webcam audio profiles, not great. I gotta say, this is the best microphone audio that I've heard from a webcam. I can hear that there's some kind of processing. There's a noise gate for sure in the microphone. So the audio on this thing is the best webcam audio that I've heard in terms of built-in audio. Arguably, like the Hollyland Lyra with its detachable, Lark A1 microphone is maybe a little better because it's a little closer to your mouth. But in terms of something, I was testing this with it 3 feet away from my mouth, or about 1 meter, and it sounds great. There's great bass tones, fullness of voice. It sounds more or less like my Shure MV7, and it's coming from the webcam microphones. You don't really need to buy a secondary microphone if you don't want to, which is kind of crazy. A lot of the webcams in that price range really require you to buy a secondary microphone because there is no microphone built in. So cameras from Elgato, the YoloCam S3, which was my other favorite camera, but this one looks really, really good after the firmware update. It has a 1/1.3 inch sensor. It has F1.7 lens, a little bit of bokeh effect, but nothing like this camera, for example, which is a crop sensor with an F1.4 autofocus lens. So you're not going to get that kind of bokeh effect, but I think it does pretty well, and it's not super expensive in terms of its pricing. So one more thing it does claim that it is very good in low light. I've got pretty studio lighting, with a key light and a fill light and hair lights and all these things that you may not have whilst playing your games or whatever you're doing or going into your online meetings. So let's try it out in low light as well to see what that looks like. Okay, so this is the Insta360 Link 2C Pro in very low light. So all I have is one overhead light that's just about to my right and over my head. Otherwise, all the other lights, as you can see, everything else in my room is turned off. So this is probably what it'd look like, with maybe if you're, gaming with somebody, you don't have a light firing at your face or studio lighting. Normally I have a key light and a fill light and a hair light and all of those things. This is just like the average. You've got a recessed light or something overhead, and it maybe is bouncing off a few walls in your room. This is what the Insta360 Link 2C Pro looks like with low light. Okay, so the low light performance, I gotta say, it looks pretty good. I didn't have any light on me except for one little overhead light on the upper right side of me, but nothing else. Everything else was turned off, and it did really well. It didn't lose any sharpness, didn't get grainy like a lot of cameras would. I would say this is a pretty terrific camera based on purely the image quality, plus the fact that it's a microphone is pretty amazing. Like, it's really a nice microphone on that camera. So would I recommend it? Yes, I would. I know Insta360 makes pretty good action cameras. It made probably the best gimbal camera for a long time, and still the Link 2 is very good as well. But the 2C Pro and just the Pro cameras in general, the Pro with the gimbal, they are very good cameras. And if you don't need the gimbal capabilities or functionality, I don't in my case, because my frame's pretty fixed in terms of what I normally do. It is a very good camera for remote work, for streaming, for all those different types of things. So one more thing to note here is that I left all the default settings on the camera. Everything is 50'd out. I didn't want to mess with it. I thought it looked really good out of the box, and that's pretty rare. Some of the OpSpot ones, for example, have pretty good out of the box settings. This one's winning though in my mind now in terms of out of the box color settings. The one thing I did do just to match the Sony a little bit better, because it's a little bit lower exposure, is I took down the exposure just a little bit. There's a exposure compensation setting. I went down minus 0.3, which is literally one click from being balanced at 0.0. And so this camera, not only did it look really good and sound amazing, but the settings on it were spot on. And I've got darker background, I've got a bright shirt on, things that aren't like the easiest for a camera to compensate for. I could tell it was tuned for color balance and exposure in the center, and that's why it was able to pick up the right skin tones and everything else, and based on that, kind of make sure everything else looked right behind me and on my shirt, etc. So this thing looks pretty good out of the box. If this review gave you value, if you liked this review, then please give me a like. Otherwise, if you want to see more like this and get some everyday tech tips, be sure to subscribe to my channel, and we'll see you again soon.